Hey guys, in today's video I have a handful of games that I want to touch on and give my take on who I think is going to be the better bet against the spread. This is going to be for Saturday, February 18th, 2017 in college basketball. I got 5 games that I'm going to touch on, and if you're interested in what those 5 games are, I'll put them in the video description, and as always you can head on over to our main website, stumpthespread.com, by clicking in the logo in the top right hand corner of this video, and we'll also link Stump the Spread in the video description to get our daily free play over there. It's going to be a pick out in the Pac-12 between Arizona State and Washington State if you're interested in checking that out. We are also loaded up with a bunch of top confidence 5-unit premium bets over on our main website. We got 10 of those if you're interested in checking those out as well. In today's video, the first matchup I want to talk about is over in the Missouri Valley Conference between Northern Iowa and Wichita State. If you're looking to get more of this pick video content in the future as well, you can click that subscribe button, and any thumbs up are greatly appreciated and really help us out. So starting here with Northern Iowa against Wichita State. Northern Iowa opened here as 17.5-point underdogs. I loved it at that particular point. It was even up to 18 at one point. It has shrunk down a bit, unfortunately, but for those that got in on Northern Iowa early on are getting a little bit more value here. Still getting that 15 to 15.5 points right now. Northern Iowa got off to a really brutally slow start to play in conference, but they have been one of the better teams in conference play over the past month plus, winning 9 of their last 10 games and really showing a lot more of what people were expecting out of the Panthers this year than what they were showing back during the earlier portion of Valley play. Now, Northern Iowa hasn't necessarily been winning in impressive fashion by any means. It's definitely been on the backs of their elite defense, as Northern Iowa typically scores in that 50 to 60 point range while holding their opponent, maybe into that 40 to 50 point range on most nights when going against the mid to lower tier teams in the Valley. Big step up in competition here for the Panthers going on the road against Wichita State. The Shockers have been putting up really strong results throughout the regular season, especially on their home court. Wichita State has strengths on both sides of the ball, which they've been utilizing and really allowing them to pick up a number of convincing wins. We do like Wichita State, obviously, to come through on their home court today, but both of these teams have very strong defenses, and wouldn't be surprised to see this one finish in that 50 to 60 point range, or maybe even less than that. And if that's the case, these 15 points are going to have a bit more value than they would if it was a higher scoring game. And obviously in a lower scoring game, it's just a lot tougher to get the points needed to separate, especially cover a spread of this margin. So we're going to go ahead and side with the Panthers getting that 15 to 15.5 points right now as the better value bet against the spread in this matchup. Next game I want to touch on is between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Baylor Bears down in the Big 12. One of the top matchups on the board today, and if you're a fan of college basketball, it's definitely one of those must-watch as 2 of the top teams of the nation go head-to-head. This is a rematch of a game we saw a bit earlier in Big 12 play, as Baylor went on the road to Kansas and competed really well, but came up just short there in the end, losing that one at Kansas. Revenge game for Baylor, and they get it on their home court where they've been having quite a bit of success this year. Kansas has actually been quite a bit better than I was expecting them to be this year, especially given how short Kansas's bench has been. Although Kansas has been racking up quite a number of wins, they haven't necessarily always been all that impressive or dominant in many of their wins that you'd expect them to win by larger margins, especially on their home court. That could come to play here. Perhaps Kansas isn't quite as good as their overall record might suggest, but it is worth noting that, if Kansas is able to get the job done in really close games, that could potentially help them in postseason play, but it also could mean that Kansas will be susceptible to getting upset in the earlier rounds if they're not able to put away some of the higher seeded teams that they might face early on. So coming into this one, Baylor, like I said, really strong on their home court this year. Baylor's been an elite defensive force throughout the regular season, and we do like the Bears to get enough offensive production here behind their home court advantage to go on to win and cover this very small spread here. All right, so 3 more games I want to touch on, starting with College of Charleston versus Northeastern. And this is going to be a matchup that's over in the CAA. Charleston, one of the better defensive teams in the nation. Defense always travels really well, which has allowed Charleston to have some pretty solid showings on the road this year. We sided with Charleston recently on the road as they went to UNCW, who's been the top performer in the CAA this year, and Charleston was actually not just able to cover, I think it was about an 8-point spread, that they were able to go and win that one straight up in regulation, what was a really great win for Charleston. Charleston definitely a team to watch out for in the CAA postseason tournament. They definitely could make a run, and when you have an elite defense like Charleston has, it keeps you in games even when you're going against some of the better teams that you might face. Going on the road here against a Northeastern squad that actually was very impressive at times back during the non-conference, but they just haven't been able to replicate some of the strong results we saw from them back, especially towards the end of non-conference play as they've headed into the CAA. Going to be another tough test here for Northeastern, and we like College of Charleston to bring that effort as they're continuing to play for their seeding for the CAA tournament. We do like them to really push Northeastern here and bring their elite level defense as they go on to win this one in what's nearly a pick'em. Right now, Charleston sits at a 1-point favorite, so we do like them to get over that and cover the spread. All right, moving on down here, back to the Big 12, we have a matchup between the Texas Tech Red Raiders and West Virginia. Both of these teams look like they're going to make the NCAA tournament. Obviously, West Virginia could probably lose out and still make the big dance, but Texas Tech, they're on the right side of the bubble right now in terms of most forecasts I've seen. Texas Tech obviously could use another elite resume building win, but the Red Raiders did a lot of solid work for their resume this past week, losing to Kansas by 1 point and then following that up with a win against the Baylor Bears. Texas Tech was able to actually get past West Virginia early on in conference play at home in what was a 1-point win there for the Red Raiders. West Virginia, this is a revenge game for them, and West Virginia, behind their home court advantage, is going to really try to give the Red Raiders a run here. Texas Tech, they've largely been competitive throughout Big 12 play, but they do have some less than desirable blowout defeats along the way. They could be in trouble of having a similar result here. Texas Tech has had to put in a ton of effort in their last 2 outings against 2 of the other top Big 12 teams, and fatigue might be an issue for the Red Raiders, especially with how far Big 12 teams have to travel to get to West Virginia. The Mountaineers looked great in their recent home win against Kansas State, winning that one in blowout fashion. And also, the Mountaineers were able to cover the spread for us in their last outing on the road against Kansas, pushing that one into overtime before falling just short in the end of that one. With everything in consideration here, we feel like West Virginia, giving the 11 to 11.5 points right now, is going to be the better value bet against the spread, and what's going to be a revenge game here where we really feel like the Mountaineers can separate. And also, West Virginia's been pretty solid in revenge games this year in Big 12 play. We saw that in their win against Oklahoma and also their win against Kansas State last week. And we like West Virginia to go ahead and get another big revenge win again today as they go on to win and cover this spread. And just one more game that I want to touch on in today's video, and it's going to be back in the Missouri Valley Conference between Missouri State and Drake. Missouri State, they're right now sitting more in the mid to lower tier of the Missouri Valley. This squad was expected to do a lot better this year and finish more in that upper tier, but it's just been a situation where the Bears have lost an incredibly large number of games by single digits or even just one possession. It seems like almost every Missouri State game goes right down to the wire where any team can win it in the end, and they've just had a tough time coming through in a number of those games, given the fact that the Bears don't necessarily have the strongest go-to options, as they tend to spread the ball around to a lot more different guys, and it just more depends on matchup situations for Missouri State than just giving the ball to their leading scorer. It's definitely not the same Missouri State squad that we saw back when they had Marcus Marshall, who transferred out and is now the star over at Nevada. Missouri State came up just short in their last outing, falling to Illinois State in a game that, again, could have gone either way right there at the down the stretch. But Missouri State was able to cover the spread for us in that one, as they were about 3 to 4 point underdogs in that one. Going on the road here against a Drake team that Missouri State actually lost to at home earlier in the year. That one went into overtime in what was a really crazy game. Drake getting the home court advantage in this rematch, and it just seems like Missouri State plays in competitive games in just every matchup that they've been presented with for the most part in the Missouri Valley this year. And also Missouri State isn't at full strength right now. Ronnie Rousseau has been out for an extended period of time, and he was the starting point guard for the Bears. Obviously, Missouri State does have the depth to make up for a loss like that, but also Austin Reuter was out for Missouri State in their last outing, and Reuter has been a spot starter at times at shooting guard. He's probably the best shooter on this team, and he's dealing with concussion symptoms right now, so definitely the Bears not coming into this one at full strength. And Drake knows that they can beat the Bears. They were really able to exploit the Bears in their last outing, as they were able to dig themselves out of a big early deficit as they went on to win that one in overtime. We feel like Drake, behind their home court advantage here, getting the 4 points is going to be a pretty solid value bet against the spread in this matchup. So that wraps up the games I wanted to touch on in today's video. Again, if you want our daily free play in college basketball over at our main website, you can check out stumpthespread.com by clicking the logo in the top right-hand corner of this video. And we'll also link Stump the Spread in the video description. And for more of this pick content in the future, you can click that subscribe button. So thanks, guys, for stopping on in, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.